Welcome back to the channel. Among the 45 other books waiting on my reading list, one of them found itself in it as a little bit of a coincidence, but I think is more than relevant with what is going on with certain societal and even cultural issues. The book is Strength to Love by Martin Luther King Jr., and it turned out to be quite an interesting book, to say the least. I obviously know of him through this famous quote, I have a dream, and also another one that I actually shared on my Instagram last year. I obviously knew what his fight was for, I knew what he tried to do and accomplish, but nothing really in details, nothing more than that. Reading through the book only, I honestly thought that he was some kind of reborn Jesus. He had a critical mind, openness, sensitivity, but also very good insight on issues that were happening while he was still alive. His book uses Christian values and Jesus' life as examples for the solutions the country desperately needed at the time, socially at least. The people needed to see beyond color, beyond backgrounds, beyond their past, to then meet and only see children of God. All of it combined with great intellectual background, referring to anthropological and even sociological research. His writing style is honestly beautiful, and you can pretty much quote every single line. Nothing is left aside and nothing is left unsaid. The book is just brilliant, and I thought of actually covering some key themes like soft-mindedness, loving your enemy, and the moral responsibility to be intelligent, among other things. I must say that I put him in some sort of pedestal, thinking he was one of the brightest, if not the brightest individual talking about society as if he was still with us today. Yet the issue he describes and presents that happened almost 60 years ago are still very much present to this day, if not worse. But then I thought to myself, what kind of man was he? Did he apply anything he taught? But then I was a little bit disappointed to learn certain things about him, like his family, who describes him as someone radical, someone who never condoned violence but also didn't condemn it. All these reports of adultery and, according to certain sources, even more serious matters. And to be frank, I felt let down in a way. But this has to do first with my lack of experience, naivety even towards certain elements, which led me to conclude that he was simply an idealist and nothing more, nothing less. To write what us, the human race, should do, behave like children of God. Meanwhile, he was doing certain things that he wouldn't himself be totally okay with. But then I decided to move away from this, take some time to think, and after talking to certain people, well, I realized it was important to take apart the man and the book. In fact, in anything, we cannot be true to our convictions and even values at all time. We put ourselves in different roles. A role at work, a role at home with the family, in a video, as an auditor, in a social setting, in a cultural setting. We're never truly all those roles at once, but we are once all of them. I also have to think back to the moment I put him on a pedestal, thinking of him as kind of a saint after just reading one of his books. In reality, he was just a man who made potentially mistakes. But that doesn't take away his words, his dreams, his views, what he thought was right. We also have to recognize that he didn't live long enough to see what he preached taking form. So who knows what might have happened. It's also important to note that people actually feared him at one point. Even his last true friend, and I quote, said, "The whole future of America will depend upon the fact and influence of Dr. King." And to that, even the impact after his death was really strong. We saw what happened after in certain cities. Because of course, even if many only saw the men fighting for equal rights between whites and blacks, Martin Luther King Jr. was also involved in military action, in the economy. And it seems like all of this was rather a big problematic. As much as I would like to cover more about his ideas, about his theories, about the way he saw a society, I would probably do this much later than what I originally planned. Today was supposed to be about soft-mindedness. I'm getting too many mixed messages between what he writes in his book and what people argue he was like and what he believed in. He wrote a number of other books that I'm going to take the time to read, to then make a real presentation about the man, because despite all of this, I see that there's a lot to take from it, especially for Western societies. And I think it's also a great reminder not to be just the student of one school, as tempting as it is. Anyways, thanks for watching. Not the most complete video I've made so far, but those things happen. If you have anything to add, feel free to comment it, like if you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you next time for the next video.